The 2026 legislative session is underway. They gaveled in Minnesota State Capitol. A lot going on there. Political analyst Blois Olson, also you may know him from such publications as Fluence Media, and the list goes on and on and on. Blois, thanks for spending some time with us on this very busy day today.
Happy to be here, Amy.
Okay, let's talk first of all, before we get into kind of the nuts and bolts of what's going to go on here. We really need to recognize the last couple of hours and the way that this session was kicked off. Talk to me a little bit about how poignant that was, the significance of that moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time the legislature has gathered since Speaker Hortman was assassinated, and John with her husband, and John and Yvette Hoffman were shot 9 and 8 times respectively. And so since June 14th, the legislature hasn't been back. And so you have to pause. You have to get your mind around the gravity of those events. And those of us in politics in Minnesota are reminded of that almost daily, but we're also reminded that Minnesota's had just so much news since then that we just have to take note and realize that. And Speaker Hortman was an incredible leader, and she had a humble style about her that I think fits the honor that they gave her today. And then Senator Hoffman gave a speech to his Senate colleagues about what his work means and how different it is now.
Yeah. Blois, I want to try to get in as much as possible here. So can we do a quick reminder on the breakdown in the House and Senate and how tight things are? And then we can hit a couple of these topics and talk through those. So again, give us that reminder.
So the House is tied 67-67, Democrats and Republicans, and the Senate has a 1-seat Democratic majority, 34-33. So one vote in the Senate is the difference. So it means everything in the House needs bipartisan support to move forward.
All right, let's just get right into it with the most recent issue, I think, in a lot of people's minds, which is immigration, ICE reforms, the things that are going to be on the table regarding Operation Metro Surge. How do you see that playing out?
I think Democrats are going to really lean in on trying to pass new laws. For instance, making sure that law enforcement can't wear face masks, whether state or federal officials, things like that. I think there might be some things on the civil liberties front that Republicans might agree with them on. And so I think as the discussion takes hold, there might be some constitutional issues that even Republicans suggest that, maybe the federal government shouldn't be allowed to do that. And I think the reality is that they'll look at it in the eyes of COVID and this ICE surge and say, in both cases, people were uncomfortable with the federal government's role. How do we protect Minnesotans?
All right, let's talk about fraud. How does each party approach this session?
So Republicans are going to want to keep fraud front and center, and I think they'll do that through hearings. They still have the fraud committee in the House. We look ahead a couple weeks. Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellison will testify in Washington on fraud again. And so I think that will be Republicans' highlight. Democrats have started to take a different approach. They've taken two things. One is they've started to point to the federal government's, failure on fraud since there's nobody left in the U.S. Attorney's Office, and that the attorneys who were prosecuting fraud there are gone, and that the feds actually messed up the fraud prosecution. The other thing is they're going deep into the Wayback Machine about how Minnesota changed the way it used private providers to provide public services, more than 50 years ago, as this idea that that's really when the fraud opportunity started. But that ignores the reality of the last, 3 to 5 years.
All right, and finally, the last one I want to touch on here, and there's a lot, but gun control. This is a topic that's fallen almost silent, Blois, because there's been just so much. Where did we leave off on that, and where do we pick up?
I think you just have to look at it in the political reality, math. The math of the politics with a tied House, and when Governor Walz said he would call a special session, and he didn't have the votes. And then ultimately he had to concede that he didn't have the votes. I think it'll be a debate. I think it'll be a discussion. I think the Senate will probably take it up and try to put some onus on the House, but I don't see it going anywhere in the House this session. I think the legislators, it being an election year, are going to be very focused on how do they get some things done and then adjourn in a graceful, kind of different manner, because I think the tone and tenor, it's something they're all going to be mindful of this year.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, so one of the big, wild cards this year that we didn't know as we ended the session last year is that Governor Walz is not seeking a third term. And there's been some question, speculation over whether or not if Amy Klobuchar were to become governor, if Governor Walz would then fill out her seat. I don't know if you heard this or saw this, but I just have to share this with you because internally our Corn Hoggard, who is there today, and he said we're okay to report this, but Governor Walz says he'd rather eat glass than fill out Senator Klobuchar's Senate term if she's elected governor. How does that hit you?
Well, it'd take a lot for me to eat glass, so that sounds pretty uncomfortable. Look, I do not believe that there was a predetermined deal that he would get appointed to the Senate, and I think that Governor Walz said a while ago that he was not interested in seeking public office again, and I think we have to take him at his word. He's had an unprecedented 7 years as governor. He's really had quite the roller coaster of emotions, and I do think, at his point in life, it might be time to move on to a different kind of service.
Do you think, just to kind of trying to sort through the politics of what we're going to see and then also getting things done, does it give you, how do you feel after seeing what happened last year, and the way that, for instance, Speaker Lisa Damuth and Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman were able to shepherd agreements? Do you think that in Minnesota we were able to do things differently, and does that give you hope for another session where we have such tight margins?
I am watching the relationship between new Democratic leader Zach Stevenson and Speaker Lisa Damuth to see how that relationship is. I think that will tell how the tone and tenor of the session goes. That doesn't mean that the news conferences aren't going to happen and the finger pointing isn't going to happen, but it's that relationship that's going to determine how much they could get done.
All right. Anything else before we cut you loose here? Any other? And there's a lot. I mean, we got to pace ourselves, Blois. It's going to be.
Have you heard that, Amy? Have you heard me say that? Pace yourself?
A couple of times. Yeah. I think it's good advice.
It's only mid-February, Amy.
It's good advice.
We got me and you till November. Here we go.
Let's go. We got a lot. But we appreciate you weighing in. I always feel like it's kind of a stress-free conversation is what I try to go for, because these conversations can often get really stressful. So we appreciate you being on board with us as we walk into it. All right. Take care.
I'll try to bring the Zen all the time, Amy.
You know what? I'd love that. Thank you. All right, Blois. Talk to you soon. Thanks.